Chapter 486, From what background does he come from? Time passed by, and soon it was already 12 at noon, an auspicious time chosen by Ouyang Lulu. After receiving a call from manager Huang, Tang Xiu rushed to the entrance gate. The vast majority of the guests who had come to congratulate and witness the opening ceremony of the Paradise Manor had already arrived. They all wore smiling faces and gathered in small groups of 3 to 5. They were either chatting with the executives of the Paradise Manor or with Ouyang Lulu, conveying their blessings. However, several talented young men from Shanghai's business circle gathered around the big star, Zhang Xinya, either boasting their accomplishments or flattering her, wishing to get close to her. The auspicious time has arrived, so let us invite the owner of the Paradise Manor, Ouyang Lulu, the mayor, Mr. Wang Tao, the vice chairman of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Zhang Yuming, the world-famous singer, Ms. Zhang Xinya, and lastly, Mr. Tang Xiu. They will cut the ribbon for the opening of Paradise Manor. At this moment, 6 ceremonial girls were already present in front of the gate, waiting motionlessly with a red ribbon. Tang Xiu? Aside from Ouyang Lulu and Zhang Xinya, Mayor Wang Tao and the vice president of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, Zhang Yuming, wore strange expressions on their faces. As for Zhang Yuming, he knew Tang Xiu and his identity. However, he was, nevertheless, quite curious about Tang Xiu's unexpected presence in this occasion. Wang Tao, however, wore a puzzled expression, since he had never heard about Tang Xiu before. Boss Ouyang, who is this Tang Xiu? Wang Tao, who stood next to Ouyang Lulu, asked very softly. He's my idol, and the person I'm currently pursuing, said Ouyang Lulu with a chuckle. Of course, he also has many identities, though I'm not going to elaborate on them. I believe Mayor Wang will eventually learn about him if Tang Xiu wants to expand his wings to Shanghai as well. Wang Tao was speechless. He did admire Ouyang Lulu's straightforwardness, but he couldn't help but grumble inside. An unknown figure cutting the ribbon in such an important occasion, wouldn't it become a laughingstock if this news were to be spread out? Regardless, Ouyang Lulu was the owner of Paradise Manor, so Wang Tao didn't feel like questioning her decision. Him coming here this time was entirely due to looking at the face of the Ouyang family of Jingmen Island, since his family and the Ouyang family had quite a deep relationship. Under the watchful eyes of the audience, Tang Xiu came behind the red ribbon. He had planned to stand at the most rear, and would immediately hide right after the ribbon had been cut. But he didn't expect that Zhang Xinya would actually pull his hand with a smiling face and exchange her position with his, giving him the position next to Ouyang Lulu. Whoosh! Everyone in the front was stunned and astonished, whispering to each other in private. What is this? Zhang Xinya is an up-and-out big star, the most famous public figure. From whence did this Tang Xiu come from? The introduction only mentioned his name. What makes him qualified to stand on the center and make Zhang Xinya stand in the outermost? Could it be that Zhang Xinya already knew this Tang Xiu from before? What exactly is his background? To think that even such a big star gave him her inside spot? The positioning of the ribbon is also very particular and uncommon. There is no question for Ouyang Lulu to stand in the middle, since she is the owner of Paradise Manor, after all. It's also a given for Mayor Wang to stand by her side, since he represents the approval and support of the government. But for an unknown layman to actually stand beside Boss Ouyang, isn't this quite unjustifiable?
Yeah.
The other is Zhang Yuming, the vice president of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. Not only is his personal wealth in the billions, his position is also very prominent. Yet, he's standing on the outermost, so what makes this surname Tang have the qualification to stand on the center? What scandal is this? What exactly is Zhang Xinya doing? Everyone's chatter caused manager Huang to shoot a deep look at Zhang Xinya and Tang Xiu before she handed the microphone to Ouyang Lulu, with a smile. Ouyang Lulu then let out a smile and started her speech. Ladies and gentlemen, today, I'm very honored to invite you all to attend the opening ceremony of our Paradise Manor. I would like to offer my gratitude to you all, and ask all you to support and take care of my Paradise Manor in the future. I have always been a forthright person, and I never beat around the bush. So, without further ado, I announce that Paradise Manor is officially open for business. Bang, bang. The deafening sound of firecrackers spread out nearby. Cut the ribbon now, Manager Huang shouted. The 5 important figures cut the red ribbons. The bands on both sides began to beat drums and gongs, playing the song of blessing. Then, applause reverberated from hundreds of guests, causing the entire scene to turn jubilant. Ouyang Lulu took the microphone again. She set her eyes on the audience and smilingly said, "All right, everyone. The ribbon-cutting ceremony is over. We, the Paradise Manor, have prepared delicacies as well as peerless good wine. God's nectar. From today onward, my Paradise Manor will set up a lucky draw. Any guest who participates in the lottery drawing will have a chance to be rewarded with God's nectar. Of course, there are only 5 spots per day, and every quota will only have 2 bottles of God's nectar. Speaking about the price, it will be slightly more expensive than other places." In a flash, the hundreds of guests in the courtyard were stunned. Many of them even asked loudly, "Boss Ouyang, are your words real? You're actually providing God's nectar? Could it be that you have secured a cooperation with the Magnificent Tang Corp?"
Yeah.
The God's nectar produced by the Magnificent Tang Corp is now hailed as the best wine. All wine lovers regard drinking God's nectar as a symbol of honor. Yet the sales model of the Magnificent Tang Corp as well as the sales volume of God's nectar is very limited. One is simply unable to buy it unless they go purchase it in their exclusive stores. "Boss Ouyang, can your Paradise Manor help me buy a number of God's nectar bottles? I'll pay double. If you agree, I'll immediately transfer the money into your account. I'm willing to pay 5 times the price to buy it. 10 times. Looking at the crowd in front of her, Ouyang Lulu was dumbfounded. Never once had she expected that using God's nectar would create such an uproar. It had to be known that she spent quite the effort to run to Star City, using both soft and hard tactics to face Kong Xia, before she finally secured a private small agreement to get the goods. And it was only 5,000 bottles a year. At the end of the day, she shot Tang Xiu a glance only to find his expression being at a loss whether to cry or laugh. Taking a deep breath, she forced a smile and said, "Gentlemen, would you please calm down first? I do want to earn such money, actually. However, the big boss of the Magnificent Tang Corporation is a very stingy man. I have been pestering him, using both hard and soft tactics, and even offered myself in marriage before he eventually agreed to give me a share of God's nectar each year. If it was not for my paradise villa, I would have taken the goods out for you. Nevertheless, if you want to buy them, you can go straight to the Magnificent Tang Corporation." Standing at the side, Tang Xiu could only roll his eyes and secretly grunted inside, "This girl truly speaks with tongue in her cheek. To think that she can tell a barefaced lie out and out so brazenly. Does painting yourself black is really that interesting?" At this time, he firmly decided to never stand out even if he was beaten to death. Despite having already made a name for himself, today's situation was obvious. The guests didn't even recognize him, and were all oblivious that he was the big boss of the Magnificent Tang Corporation. He was not so foolish and stupid as to push himself forward only to get squeezed by the crowd, who only wanted to get close to him and get some benefits through the back door. Fortunately, Ouyang Lulu herself didn't want to let the God's nectar steal her limelight. She squeezed out a smile and said, "All right, we have prepared sightseeing cars in front of the entrance, so I invite you all to come inside. Today, we will certainly make everyone to have a very good time drinking and dining here." As the audience entered, welcoming ladies took them to the interior of the pagoda-shaped dining hall. Fragrant dishes were currently being delivered to the tables, and each table was provided with 2 bottles of God's nectar. As the main character today, Ouyang Lulu was always accompanied by prominent figures. whereas Tang Shou quietly withdrew due to his dislike of noisy scenes. He found a quiet rest area and asked the staff to provide him paper. On it, he silently wrote the names of the herbs he had memorized, and the list of wild animals and fierce beasts he planned to rear. While at that, a good fragrance invaded his nostrils. Then, a woman in a white dress and casual white shoes came before Tang Shou. "Hello, Grand Master." Tang Shou looked up. His expression turned slightly vacant after he saw Gu Xiaoxue, and then asked with astonishment, "Why are you here, Xiaoxue?" "Lulu invited me." "We are good sisters, after all," said Gu Xiaoxue with a faint smile. "Besides, you're also in Shanghai, Grand Master, hence I came. It's just that I don't like lively and noisy scenes, so I didn't appear before anyone. I just learned from Manager Huang that you were not in the banquet hall, so I came find you." "All right, sit down and let's have a chat." Tang Shou pointed to the opposite spot and smilingly said. "Actually, I was planning to call you. Let me show you something. This just crossed my mind." After receiving the list and carefully reading it, there was a puzzled look on Gu Xiaoxue's face as she said, "Grand Master, there are two lists here. One is filled with names of medicinal herbs, and the other one is a list of wild animals. What are you going to make, exactly?" "I'm preparing to plant a massive number of medicinal herbs, as well as rear various wild animals," said Tang Shou with all seriousness. "I'm going to use the Immortal Ordnance art to transform these wild animals, eventually transforming them into fierce beasts or spirit beasts." "Your vision is somewhat similar to the Master's idea," said Gu Xiaoxue with astonishment. However, when Master had just put forward this idea, her physical state became worse and worse, and then it was eventually forgotten. "Grand Master, if this plan is really successful, then we can get a lot of cultivation resources." "That's right. If we want to nurture a large number of experts, cultivation resources are indispensable," said Tang Shou. "Hence, my initial idea is to plant medicinal herbs in 200 mu of land, and I will personally lay out a formation array at that time so that the medicinal herbs can grow quickly. With my current ability, the best I can do is to make them grow 10 times faster, which is 1 year equaling to 10 years if they were to be planted outside. It could be even faster than that. Within 8 to 10 years we can get a massive number of 100-year-old medicinal herbs. As for rearing wild animals, I will also need to lay out a formation array, but their growth rate will be a lot slower. But at most 10 years later, we can easily identify which wild animals can grow into spirit beasts and which aren't unable to open their spiritual wisdom, and can only become low-level fierce beasts." Chapter 487, Offering help only to get refused and scolded. While Tang Shou was elaborating on his ideas, an extraordinary splendorous light shined in Gu Xiaoxue's eyes as she imagined their future harvests to come. Finally, when Tang Shou had finished his explanation, he took back the two lists and asked, "Some time ago, due to the need to develop the magnificent Tang Corp, I'd given an amount of funds to Kong Xia, so there is only 1.2 billion yuan remaining in my account. To implement my idea, I'm afraid that the amount needed will not be enough even if this amount is multiplied by 10. So, how much money the Everlasting Feast Hall can provide?" Gu Xiaoxue pondered for a short while and then said, "About 28 billion, that's all the money I have saved. But, if I draw the funds from the various businesses we have, I should be able to transfer another 10 to 20 billion. Thinking for a while, Tang Shou then said, "It won't be necessary. Just transfer 9 billion into my account after you return to Jingmen Island. 10 billion yuan should be more or less enough for the upfront investment. But I'll find you again later if there's a need to expand the scale." "You don't have to wait until I return to Jingmen Island, Grand Master," said Gu Xiaoxue with a smile. "I can transfer the money to you now." A few minutes later, Gu Xiaoxue took back her mobile phone and smilingly said, "I've transferred the money to you, Grand Master. However, the bank manager just called me to say that the money will only arrive in your account within 3 working days. We need to buy land in a mountain where the heaven and earth spiritual chi is relatively rich. Lands in mountainous areas are quite cheap, though developing it will prove rather difficult. However, we can still accomplish it if we pour sufficient funds in it. It's just that I haven't decided the specific location yet. Do you have a good place to recommend? From the looks of your point of view, setting up herb plantations and rearing wild animals will require us to pay close attention to the weather, temperature, topography, water conservancy, and other related conditions. I myself rarely go out, and only have been to a few famous mountains. So there's no good place I can recommend to you. However, I do have an idea. Gu Xiaoxue shook her head and said. What's your idea? Asked Tang Xiu. I think we had better buy the rights to develop an island rather than purchasing plots of land in the mainland, said Gu Xiaoxue. Firstly, we can rent them. While the rent itself is quite cheap, many of these islands are rich in heaven and earth spiritual chi, thus suitable for growing medicinal herbs and rearing wild animals. Of course, what is most important is the issue with the caregivers. If we do it in the mainland, we will need a large number of people to carry out the security work, while on an island would be different altogether. We only need to send a number of experts to be stationed there with the assistance of high-tech surveillance instruments to make the area absolutely safe. You're right. I never thought of this before. Tang Xiu's eyes lit up. Jingmen Island is located in the South China Sea. To plant medicinal herbs and rear wild animals in a few chosen islands would be better, I think. So be it. I'll take the time to go to South China Sea to survey the area. Once I've decided the places, I'll immediately deal with the renting issues and begin to invest in the development. Then I'll prepare a list of security team members ahead of time, Grand Master, said Gu Xiaoxue with a faint smile. May I ask you what the appropriate number would be? Talking about that is too early, though it's still necessary to prepare in advance. Tang Xiu shook his head. All right then. Pick 50 core members first, but don't let them do anything yet. When everything has been arranged properly, I'll personally test them. If they get my approval, they will bring a number of peripheral members to be stationed in the chosen island. Affirmative. Gu Xiaoxue gently nodded. After discussing the proper business, Tang Xiu looked at Gu Xiaoxue's bright eyes. And suddenly, he didn't know what to say for a moment. Though he had been in contact with her for a while now, Gu Xiaoxue's innate cold character made them have a very few common topics besides speaking about proper and serious matters. After staying silent for 2 minutes, Tang Xiu eventually said, Xiaoxue, if you don't have anything else to do, go pick something to eat first. Also, please look after Yan well after you return to Jingmen Island. I will, said Gu Xiaoxue with a nod. Tang Xiu suddenly recalled something and quickly said, wait, when will you return to Jingmen Island, exactly? Since I've already met you and the Paradise Manor has officially opened, I'm planning to go back to Jingmen Island this afternoon, answered Gu Xiaoxue. Since you happen to be here, take the children back with you to Jingmen Island while convenient. These children are all orphans. I adopted them and they are now living with me in Blue Star Villa Complex. Remember to settle them with those children who have already come previously. These 5 kids have learned a bit of Kung Fu, and I've also imparted them body tempering techniques. So add some more things to do when you're training them. Then I'll go with you when you return home, Grand Master, said Gu Xiaoxue with a faint smile. Afterward, I'll take them away with me. All right, then. I'll call you when I'm about to leave, said Tang Xiu. That's right. There's someone called Qin Zhizhong in the banquet hall. He's an in-name disciple of mine. Take the time to go and see him. I'll go later, then. Gu Xiaoxue's eyes lit up and replied with a nod. After she left, Tang Xiu kept the lists and relaxingly nested on the sofa. He didn't want to bother himself with anything else and just wanted to lie down there cultivating for a while. Despite the star force inside his meridians not needing him to control it, there was something that piqued his interest and suspicion. The circulation speed of the star force had significantly increased, and its absorption of solar power also had increased to a much faster rate. Without him expecting it, someone was coming toward him. Tang Xiu took no notice of it and comfortable half-laid in his spot. "Mom, it doesn't seem so cold here," a childish voice entered Tang Xiu's ear. It was a woman in her 30s. She had a beautiful face, wearing a shawl and shining earrings and carrying a bag for books. Her name was Gu Hui, and she followed her husband to attend the opening ceremony of Paradise Manor. Half an hour ago, however, her child felt unwell and seemed to have caught a cold. Therefore, she lost her appetite and bid polite excuses to the others and her husband, and then prepared to take her son to the hospital. "Dong Dong, don't speak. This uncle is asleep, don't disturb him." The boy that seemed to be 4 or 5 years old shot Tang Xiu a look and silently nodded, yet his little figure moved closer toward Tang Xiu, while his slightly pale face also showed a comfortable expression. Finally, Tang Xiu opened his eyes and glanced at the mother and son. His eyes finally landed on the little boy and frowned, since he could sense death chi in him. "Little kid, can uncle give you a hug?" The boy looked up at his mother. "Sir, my son caught a bit of a cold, I'm afraid you will be infected." "So," said Gu Hui quickly. Tang Xiu shook his head and smiled. He hugged the small boy. While at that, he used his fingers to feel his pulse, and kept at it for more than 20 seconds. Afterward, Tang Xiu furrowed his brows slightly, as he looked up and asked Gu Hui, "Was there a case of homicide or murder in your family recently?" "Murder? There has been no homicide." "Huh? Sir, are you?" Gu Hui was confused. Raising his hand to interrupt her, Tang Xiu said, "If there was no murder case in your family, that means that someone very close to your son has personally encountered a homicide case. And the time it happened should be no less than 2 days ago." Gu Hui frowned as she snatched her son and stepped back. There was a vigilant look on her face as she said, "Mister, I don't get what you mean by that. There has never been a murder case in my family, and the only people close to my son are my husband and I, and we have never encountered a murder case either. So please don't talk such nonsensical things." After saying that, she was about to leave with her son. Tang Xiu squinted his eyes and looked at her back while speaking, "Your son is not suffering from a cold, but because he got exposed to death chi. I don't think the hospital will be able to cure this condition. Of course, you may question this and leave. But your son is still too young, and his life force will be fully corroded by the death chi in 7 days at the most. By that time, he will lose his life." Gu Hui was an atheist. She instantly turned around upon hearing his words and angrily stared at him, saying more absurd things. "Then don't blame for calling out people to kick you out." Having said that, she hastily left while hugging the boy. Tang Xiu could only shake his head. The cycle of karma, the cause and effect of the heavenly Tao, has a profound and deep influence that will affect the lives of ordinary people. The current himself was also under the influence of the heavenly Tao at all times. Unless he could break the shackles on his neck and ascend to become an immortal, only then would he be able to get rid of the interference of the heavenly Tao. One's wealth, status, and honor are set and preordained by the heavens. Despite him encountering such a thing, nevertheless, if the child's mother didn't believe in him, and didn't allow him to clearly inspect her child and dispel the death chi on the boy willingly, then it would mean that the boy was fated to die a few days later. Inside the pagoda-shaped restaurant. On the second floor of the banquet hall, hundreds of guests had filled the entire venue. In front of the luxurious tables, the crowd were tasting the gourmet and praising them while sipping God's nectar. At the innermost place table, Ouyang Lulu was accompanied by Mayor Wang Tao, Zhang Yuming, Zhang Xinya, and a few other guests with prominent status, merrily chatting and laughing while dining. At this time, Gu Xiaoshui came. Donning a white dress that fluttered, she was as though a fairy who descended to earth. Her arrival in the banquet hall attracted the eyes of numerous people as she came to Ouyang Lulu's side. Sis Xiaoxue, come and sit down with me. Previously, Ouyang Lulu never expected that Gu Xiaoxue would be willing to come and dine here. Hence, a pleasantly surprised look immediately appeared on her face. No, I can't, said Gu Xiaoxue as she shook her head. I only came here to see Martial Uncle, Lulu. After saying that, she asked for an empty glass and then went toward Qin Jizhong, who was at the same table, and softly said, Martial Uncle, Xiaoxue didn't know that you were here, too, so I didn't come to pay you a visit. I hope you can forgive me. Please, accept this glass of wine as a token of respect from your martial niece. Chen Jizhong got up, but was urged to sit still by Gu Xiaoxue. He then received the glass of wine and smilingly said, Have you seen Master? Yes. Grand Master is currently resting. It was him who told me that you were here, answered Gu Xiaoxue. Master? Grand Master? The other people around the table had strange expressions on their faces as they looked at Chen Jizhong and Gu Xiaoxue. They didn't understand what they were talking about. A master to such a prominent figure like Chen Jizhong, who exactly could this sacred being be? Chapter 488, Contrasting Attitudes. Nodding at her, Chen Jizhong sipped his wine and smilingly said, Xiaoxue, after I return to Star City with Master I'll mention the matter of me going to Jingmen Island with him. If Master agrees, I will probably go to your place to dine, but you don't need to entertain your martial uncle yourself, though. With a faint smile, Gu Xiaoxue replied, then, Xiaoxue will arrange everything in advance to welcome martial uncle's arrival. All right. Chen Jizhong nodded slightly. Martial uncle, if you have no other instructions for me, I'll take my leave first. I'm not accustomed to this environment, said Gu Xiaoxue again. Go on then. Chen Jizhong smilingly replied. Standing at the side, Ouyang Lulu couldn't help but roll her eyes. She thought that Gu Xiaoxue had come to dine. It turned out that she came only to see Chen Jizhong. She knew the matter pertaining to Chen Jizhong and Gu Xiaoxue, since they had met each other in Beijing when Tang Xiu got injured. She looked at the leaving Gu Xiaoxue and reluctantly sat back on her seat. Then, she shifted her vision to Chen Jizhong and said, Big Boss Chan, since you are Sis Xiaoxue's martial uncle, you should persuade her to give up living such a boring life. By the way, she should listen to your words, right? Well, she only listens to Master's words, said Chen Jizhong with a forced smile. Stunned, Ouyang Lulu stared blankly, and immediately painted a "you've been defeated" look on her face. At the same table, a shocked and astonished light glinted in Zhang Yueming's eyes. Just as Gu Xiaoxue's figure vanished in the front door of the banquet hall, he immediately picked up his glass and got up from his seat, circling around toward Chen Jizhong's position. After he came to his side, he smilingly said, Brother Chan, I have heard that your Endless Virtue Pharmaceutical has a medicinal herbs business that is particularly thriving, yet I have never been able to meet you all this while. This is kind of a pity. So, today, I would like to pay my respects you with a cup of wine. What's this situation? Chen Jizhong was dumbfounded. Given Zhang Yueming's prominent status, which was far higher than Chen Jizhong's, would he even care about Chen Jizhong? What was the most particular was that he actually left his seat and stood by Chen Jizhong's side, giving a toast in quite a humble manner. This was simply unreasonable, no? In a matter of seconds, Chen Jizhong came back to his senses, quickly got up and replied politely, You're too polite, Brother Zhang. Your distinguished name is just like thunder reverberating in my ears. I'm simply unable to contain my joy of getting the chance to meet you today. Come, I'll accompany you drinking a cup. Brother Chen, let's have toast. The smile on Zhang Yueming's face turned brighter. He and Chen Jizhong drank a glass of wine together, yet he didn't immediately leave the seat and smilingly said instead, Dear Brother Chan, I'm a local snake here in Shanghai. Since you've come to this place, you should also befriend the local landlords. Do you have free time tonight? If so, would Brother Chen like to visit my place and accompany me to dinner? The least I can do is play as a good host for you. Chan Zhizhong hesitated. He forced a smile and said, Brother Zhang, your offer is certainly welcome. But, I must accompany my master later, and I don't know what arrangements he has for me this evening. About your invitation. I apologize, I can't accompany you. Zhang Yueming's expression slightly moved as he smiled and said, since your respected master have some matters to handle, then let us forget it for now. To be honest, I was planning on drinking a few cups with him before. But he doesn't seem to like lively scenes, unfortunately. Please give my regards to him. Brother Zhang, you know my master is, said Qin Zhizhong curiously. So to say, I have a bit of friendship with Tang, with your respected master, said Zhang Yuming smilingly. Chen Zhizhong understood in a flash. His attitude toward Zhang Yuming obviously turned better, and he said with a smile, Brother Zhang, please quickly go to your seat. If my master doesn't have any arrangements for me later, then I'll visit you. If I'm too busy, then Zhizhong will surely pay a visit whenever I come to Shanghai again. Zhang Yuming smiled in satisfaction. After returning to his seat, he filled his glass with wine and raised it toward Qin Zhizhong before he drank it up. Their exchange made everyone present shocked and confused. Even Ouyang Lulu had never expected that Tang Xiu would actually be acquainted with Zhang Yuming, more so being friends with him. All the more important was that she could see that Zhang Yuming was evidently showing goodwill toward Qin Zhizhong, which was obviously because of Tang Xiu. How could this fella know so many powerful local tycoons? Ouyang Lulu secretly mumbled to herself. She then raised her glass and smilingly said, Come, everyone, Lulu wants to express her thanks to everybody present. Please accept my toast of respect. After the glasses had been dried up, Wang Tao's vision turned to Qin Zhizhong and said with a curious expression, Boss Chan, I don't know who is your respected master. Did he come today as well? Well, my master is the one who participated in cutting the ribbon, Tang Xiu, said Qin Zhizhong with a smile. What? Everyone present at the table, except Ouyang Lulu and Zhang Yuming, had incredulous looks on their faces. Boss Chen, what kind of joke are you playing? That Tang, he's still very young. How could he possibly be your master? Asked Wang Tao with disbelief. Mayor Wang, there's a saying that we can never measure the sea with a bushel. Likewise, men cannot be judged by their looks. Though my master is indeed young, he's much more skillful and powerful than I am in various aspects. Reciting an ancient saying, whoever has reached a mastery of something can be someone's master. The matter of me take him as my master is not something worthy of surprise, is it? Wang Tao looked vacant, yet he immediately grinned awkwardly and said, Truly, I'm so parochial and narrow-sighted. Anyhow, do you mind if I ask what you are learning from Mr. Tang? Kung Fu. Chen Zhizhong replied without trying to conceal it. Suddenly realizing something, Wang Tao smiled and said, Chinese wushu is precisely the essence of our country. To think that Boss Chen can put aside the concept of seniority and can really implement the philosophy of, whoever reaches the mastery can be one's master, is truly rare. Come, let us have a drink. All right. Chen Zhizhong complied with a smile. Having drank the god's nectar in his glass, Wang Tao stopped chatting with Qin Zhizhong. Although he spoke beautifully on the surface, he himself actually didn't approve inside. After all, given Qin Zhizhong's identity, taking a youngster in his 20s as his master was truly taking lightly about a major issue. If Qin Zhizhong wanted to practice wushu, given his wealth and identity, he could have directly hired someone rather than going so far as to formally take him as a master, which was akin to lowering his own status. Tang Xiu was someone who he had never heard of prior to this, neither did he know from whence he came from. Nevertheless, for him to actually participate in the ribbon-cutting ceremony of the Paradise Manor and become Qin Zhizhong's master may prove that he did have some real abilities at that young age. Unfortunately, just that was not enough to make him go to a larger stage. Something suddenly crossed his mind, as he immediately leaned toward Ouyang Lulu. He toned down his voice and said, "Lulu, can I ask you something?" "What?" asked Ouyang Lulu back with a strange expression. "Though Tang Xiu is Qin Zhizhong's master and your friend, yet it shouldn't be enough for him to participate in such an important event such as today's ribbon-cutting ceremony, right? Does he have some other prominent identity or something?" inquired Wang Tao. Ouyang Lulu pondered for a while, yet she didn't answer Wang Tao's inquiry as she whispered back, "Uncle Wang, you and my father are friends, and can even be said as old buddies, am I right?" Despite being clueless as to where Ouyang Lulu was going with this, Wang Tao still nodded and answered,
Yeah.
"That's right. Our friendship does go far back, and we have cooperated in many things before. All the more so as your Ouyang family and my Wang family are also related by several marriages as well. If so, then I won't conceal anything from you. But, please don't tell even a word to anyone else what I'm about to tell you," said Ouyang Lulu with a nod. Wang Tao nodded, "Okay, tell me." With a voice that only both of them could hear, Ouyang Lulu said, "Tang Xiu is the offspring of the Tang family from Beijing. He's the biological grandson of the Tang family head." "The Tang family from Beijing?" Wang Tao gently nodded, yet his complexion drastically changed all of a sudden. He abruptly got up and exclaimed, "What did you say?" He is that." Ouyang Lulu hastily got up and grabbed his arm with both hands to interrupt him, and forced him to sit back down. "Uncle Wang, do you need to make a fuss over nothing like this?" The shocked expression Wang Tao's face didn't reduce in the slightest, however. He looked up to Qin Zhizhong and finally realized as to why Qin Zhizhong would formally take Tang Xiu as his master. The recently discovered offspring of the Tang family from Beijing was absolutely not someone of no particular talent. From some forces the Wang family had a relationship with, he had heard the news that the outcome of the recent last Game of Thrones between the Tangs and the Yaos in the south had made the Yao family end up miserably and badly beaten by the Tang family. It was thanks to Tang Xiu who had come late. He employed some powerful means that caused the Yao family to suffer a big defeat and massive losses. As of now, the forces from ordinary families may not be aware of these matters. The top families in Beijing, however, had all learned about this matter. The old Yao family head was even rumored to have raged after learning about it. Wang Tao took his wine glass and went toward Qin Zhizhong under Ouyang Lulu's curious gaze. The man then gazed at Qin Zhizhong and said, "Boss Chen, though I did meet Mr. Tang before, I didn't greet him due to many matters getting mixed in between the event. Anyhow, I'd like to offer you a toast, hoping that you would convey him my regards later. I'll come visit him some other time later." Again? Once again, Qin Zhizhong was paralyzed, and the rest was dazed. Everyone present had an inconceivable expressions when they looked at Wang Tao. They didn't understand. Why would he mention that young man called Tang Xiu again? Even his attitude this time was obviously different. While trying to suppress his confusion, Qin Zhizhong lifted his wine glass and said, with all politeness, "I'll convey your message." After drinking the wine, Wang Tao said, "Boss Chan, Shanghai is an international metropolis, and Chinese medical knowledge is almost replaced by Western medical science. But we all know that Chinese medical knowledge is a quintessence product and precious knowledge passed down by our ancestors. If your Endless Virtue Pharmaceutical is willing to expand your business to Shanghai, please contact me directly. I'll give you my private number, and will be waiting for your call. I will personally assist you with the legal documents." This. Never had Qin Zhizhong imagined that Wang Tao would publicly show his goodwill on this occasion. This commitment, in and of itself, was very rare. As if fearing that Qin Zhizhong didn't believe him, Wang Tao said again, "Boss Chan, I, Wang Tao, have always kept my words. I always had the wish that the Chinese medical science can make a comeback with the medicinal herbs provided by your Endless Virtue Pharmaceutical." With a grateful expression, Qin Zhizhong looked at Wang Tao and said, "In this case, I would like to express my gratitude first to you. I will definitely contact you if I plan to expand here in the future. Wise and astute as he was, he could tell that Wang Tao's change in attitude was because of his master, Tang Xiu. His puzzlement also quickly vanished after he recalled that Wang Tao was someone from the government, whereas his master, Tang Xiu, was an offspring of the Tang family from Beijing. Chapter 489, Plagued by Bad Karma. The guests participating in the Paradise Manor's opening ceremony, particularly the ones sitting at this table, were all people with high statuses. Each and every one of them was either someone with authority or possessing wealth amounting to billions. Such a group of people evidently had wisdom that far exceeded normal people. Hence, they could clearly tell that Wang Tao's change of attitude toward Chen Shizhong was entirely due to his master, Tang Xiu, yet, they were clueless about the specific reason. However, even if so, they now attached more importance to Tang Xiu in their hearts. On the banquet table, apart from Ouyang Lulu who was the main character of the day, the attitude of the remaining people toward Chen Shizhong turned more amiable and closer. The situation in China, nonetheless, was such that personal connections held a very important position, and an indispensable resource at that. It was because having a huge network and personal connection, whether in daily life or in doing business, would give one numerous benefits. At another banquet table in the hall, although Wei Yang was merrily chatting and laughing with the guests at the same table whose statuses were equal to his eyes often glanced at the table where Ouyang Lulu was with a bit of envy and jealousy. At this moment, Gu Hui came to him while hugging her son Dong Dong, and sat on the seat beside him. Her complexion was somewhat unsightly to see. What happened? Did the illness get more serious? Wei Yang quickly whispered after seeing his wife's irritated expression. Our son said that he felt more comfortable just a while ago. However, I also bumped into an ominous character, said Gu Hui, shaking her head. Ominous character? What are you talking about? Wei Yang's face changed. I just met a sleeping young man in the rest area. After he sat up, he said that our son is not sick, but is being plagued with bad karma or something. I was really angry and lashed out. I told him that he was just spitting out nonsensical things. I also told him that there had never been a murder case in our family, nor had we had a homicide case among our closest relatives. The most annoying thing was that he was kind of cursing our son, saying that even if we go to the hospital, they won't be able to cure him, and that our son wouldn't last for 7 days unless he himself treats the illness. Husband, that scammer is really so hateful and annoying. Wei Yang fell into a daze. His pupils contracted fiercely, and his heartbeat suddenly beat faster. After looking at the other people who were sharing the table with them, Gu Hui continued speaking in a low voice, Husband, I have seen that swindler before, actually. He's the young man who was in charge of cutting the ribbon at the opening ceremony. The husband took a deep breath as his eyes stared at his wife and asked, Tell me everything from beginning to endo. Remember to not miss a word. Tell me quickly. Gu Hui paused. She looked at her husband's solemn face and told everything about her encounter with Tang Xiu. Then, she finally said, You tell me, how come there would be someone so wicked in the world? Our son just caught a cold. Us taking him to the hospital to get some medication, or just having a bit shot injection, yet he went so far as to curse our son. That made me really angry. Shut up. Wei Yang couldn't sit still. He quickly stood and pulled Gu Hui from the chair and hurriedly said, Take me to see him now, hurry. Being dragged out of the banquet hall, Gu Hui was stunned. After she came to her senses, she hurriedly asked, Husband. What is wrong with you? That's nothing but a lie. Wei Yang interrupted her and sternly replied in a heavy tone, There's something I haven't told you yet. I was drunk last night and ran over someone when I was driving the car. The place was quite remote, so I ran because I was afraid of being charged with criminal charges. Now, tell me, doesn't this mean that it was me who encountered a death case? What? Gu Hui was frightened. color was drained from her face, and an ominous premonition grew inside her heart. While walking down the corridor with her husband, she hurriedly asked, "Husband, is there really no one who saw you running over someone and escaping?" Wei Yang nodded, "I'm very familiar with the place. That road is not far from our home. There is no surveillance cameras near the scene, while the streetlights are also broken. While I was careful. Anyways, I'm sure that there wasn't anyone around at that time, since I took a look around after getting out of the car. Since that young man can figure out that then, what he said about our son dying after 7 days, said Gu Hui quickly. Wei Yang fell into silence. He was doing a business in Hong Kong. The people there had influenced him so much that he feared and awed gods and spiritual beings. He also believed that feng shui or some evil and ominous stuff did exist. That made him believe that there were also some people with bizarre abilities in this world. Therefore, he wanted to confirm whether what the young man said about his son was true or not, thus wanting to find that young man and ask about it clearly. Husband, the rest area is over there. Having walked across the corridor, Gu Hui whispered quickly as she saw Tang Xi's figure still lying there. The husband's eyes fell on Tang Xiu's face. He approached and respectfully said, "Are you, Mr. Tang? I'm really sorry for disturbing you." Tang Xiu opened his eyes. After seeing the mother, Gu Hui, and her son, he could tell the identity of Wei Yang, as he nodded and asked, "What's your name?" "Wei Yang." Tang Xiu nodded, "I was not quite sure what the problem was with your family. But I finally understand after seeing you. You've been involved in a murder, right?" Wei Yang's complexion changed, and bitterly said, "Mr. Tang has eyes like a torch. Only, I don't know how could Mr. Tang figure it out? The death chi around you is much more serious than that of your sons. Therefore, you have definitely touched a dead bodies in the last 2 days. However, since the yang qi inside you is very strong, the death qi has little effect on you. Nevertheless, you should have hugged your son and passed the death chi to him shortly after you touched those dead bodies. The boy is still too young, and his ability to withstand the death chi is still too poor. Not to mention that your son also has a congenital heart disease, so," said Tang Xiu. Wei Yang's face changed greatly, to the extent that it was like he got a disastrous accident. The sound of knees hitting concrete was heard, as he knelt in front of Tang Xiu and said in a pleading voice, "Mr. Tang, everything you said is true. Last night, because I was driving drunk and some of the streetlights on the road near my house being broken, I couldn't see the situation on the road clearly, so I ran over 2 people. Then, I got off my car to check on them and found that both of them were dead. I also touched their dead bodies. When I got home, due to being scared and feeling guilty, I cried and hugged my son. Mr. Tang, help me save my son, please. I'll immediately turn myself in as long as my son is safe." "I can save your son, but there are several conditions," said Tang Xiu as he sighed inwardly. "Please do tell, Mr. Tang." "I will never refuse as long as it's within my capabilities," said Wei Yang categorically before Tang Xiu. "Bad karma is a retribution of cause and effect, while the wrath of heaven is a punishment of the karma itself. Even if you turn yourself in, after you got plagued with this bad karma, it would still be very difficult for you. Therefore, the conditions I will put forward won't do you any harm. Firstly, you must find the family of the deceased. Kneel 3 times and kowtow 9 times to them, and burn incense to expiate the sins of the dead. Secondly, you must look after the families of the deceased. If they are elderly, you must look after them until you arrange their funerals. If they are still children, you must bring them up until they have grown up. Thirdly, take half of your family's wealth and give it to charity. Only then will you get karmic reward," said Tang Xiu. Nodding heavily and repeatedly, Wei Yang said, "I'll do everything you requested, Mr. Tang. As a matter of fact, even if I hadn't met you today, I had already planned to visit their family members and give them compensation. Now, get up." Give me your child, and ask the staff to find me an empty room, said Tang Xiu. All right. Wei Yang immediately complied. A few minutes later, the boy hugged by Tang Xiu didn't make any noises. Instead, he became more energetic, whereas the couple and the staff stayed outside the room. Uncle, being around you is really comfortable, said the little boy softly. Tang Xiu let out a faint smile. He was a cultivator. During the day, he absorbed solar power all the time, so warmness would naturally circulate around his body. This warmth happened to have a restraining effect on death qi, hence giving the boy a comfortable feeling. Immediately afterward, Tang Xiu dispelled the death qi inside the little boy with his star force, and even used the Twina massage technique to inject his star force into the boy's heart. Although employing this method couldn't cure his congenital heart disease, it actually could play a relieving role and reduce the state of his cardiac disease, so that it wouldn't flare up, and guaranteed his safety for several years to come. Afterward, he brought the boy out of the room. After returning him to his mother, he said, the death qi inside him has been eliminated, but his congenital heart disease is still a threat to him. If you have the time during the holiday in October, take him to Shuangqing Province's Star City. I'll be giving medical services on October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Bring him over at that time, and I will cure his congenital heart disease. Wei Yang's pupil contracted and his breathing turned faster as he quickly asked, Mr. Tang, can you fully cure my son's congenital heart disease? It may be very troublesome for other doctors, but it's very easy for me, said Tang Xiu lightly. All right, you people can go do your things. But please remember what I've requested of you. Otherwise, you will still be plagued by bad karma, the good days of your family will surely come to an end. Bam. Wei Yang then pulled his wife, Gu Hui, and the couple knelt in front of Tang Xiu. After giving 3 kowtows, he stood and said, Mr. Tang, I can't thank you enough for your benevolence. This is my business card. If you ever need my assistance in the future, as long as it is within my capabilities, I'll make sure to have to do it even if I have to lose my life. Tang Xiu nodded as his gaze followed the family out. He secretly sighed. Through this incident, he saw how serious the heavenly Tao affected the human beings on earth. It was no wonder that the ancient people also understood the principal truth that one will receive rewards for their virtuous deeds, so will evil be rewarded for their evil deeds. It will never stop to punish all the evil deeds. As for laws and justice, it could only play a restraining role in Tang Xiu's opinion, while the punishment it brought just provided a little significance. For example, Wei Yang himself. Turning himself involuntarily would sentence him to 8 to 10 years of prison, at the most. And this was due to him running from the accident he caused. That didn't make sense and was insignificant. It would be much better to make him do more good deeds like what he requested him to do, for that would benefit many people and put an end to this bad karma that plagued him. When Tang Xiu was still in the immortal world, he was also someone who had committed innumerable murders. It could even be said that he had created rivers of blood and stepped on mountains of corpses to break through to the supreme realm. However, he helped a lot of people and saved many of them out of his good intentions, too. Thus, the merits offset the faults, until he finally broke the shackles of the heavenly Tao when he achieved the supreme realm. Chapter 490, Filthy Rich. In the afternoon, Chen Zhizhong and Gu Xiaoxue accompanied Tang Xiu in leaving Paradise Manor. As for Ouyang Lulu, she didn't detain them since there were things that they needed to handle. She just asked Tang Xiu to visit it if he had the time. After arriving at Blue Star Villa Complex, Tang Xiu saw that Qi Nan had already brought in the 2 housemaids she had hired for him. Because Gu Xiaoxue had come and he also had planned for her to take the children with her, hence, having the housemaids to take care of their daily life was no longer needed. However, he still kept them to clean up the house and do the cooking. You two, come with me to the study room. Right after Qi Nan left, Tang Xiu looked at the other 2 and spoke. In the study room. Just as they took their respective seats, One of the housemaids who was already familiar with the place brought hot tea. It was Tang Xiu who gave her the order. Aunt Lu, starting from today, you can do the cleaning in this villa, but leave out this study room. And both of you are not allowed to step into this study room again without my permission. The housemaid was a nearly 50 years old woman named Lu Fen. She hastily replied after hearing it, all right, I will tell Sister Zhang about this, too. After she left the study room, she closed the door from the outside. Afterward, Tang Xiu looked at Chen Zhizhong and said, Zhizhong, take a look at this list. Help me find the medicinal herbs on it to the best of your abilities. You don't need to find mature ones, though. I just need them to be still alive and can be replanted. Additionally, if you can get the seedlings of these medicinal herbs, it will do as well. Chen Zhizhong received the list, and after having a look at it, he found that hundreds of precious herbs were written on it, thus immediately asked, Master, there are some I've never heard of. They should be rare medicinal herbs, though most of the rest are easy to find. About the quantity, I don't know how much you need. I'm planning to plant an area of 100 mu with medicinal herbs, said Tang Xiu seriously. Therefore, the quantity needed will be very huge, so you must buy as much as possible. In any case, the more you can buy, the better. Setting up a medicinal herbs plantation? At least 100 mu wide? Shocked, Chen Zhizhong quickly replied, I understand, Master. I'll immediately begin the task once I get back to Star City. You need not worry about these herb seedlings, though. You can send a few people to buy a lot of them and then call me after, said Tang Xiu. Chen Zhizhong nodded, and put away the list full of names of medicinal herbs in a cautious manner. Then, he said, Master, I encountered a bottleneck in my cultivation. My progress is very slow regardless of how much effort I pour into it. I found that it's very hard to absorb the efficacy of a lot of precious herbs that are used for food supplements recently. With a strange expression, Tang Xiu looked at him and asked, You were using precious medicinal herbs as food supplements? With a matter-of-factly expression and tone, Chen Zhizhong replied,
Yeah.
I'm running a medicinal herb business, after all. Whenever I found medicinal herbs of good quality, such as several hundred-years-old ginseng, Ganoderma lucidums, cordyceps, and other good things, I always keep some of them. Recently, maybe due to have taken too many of them and the efficacy of those herbs having accumulated in my body, I realized that it had gotten very difficult to absorb them. Even taking medicated diet may cause night sweat and nosebleeds. Tang Xiu was speechless. He looked at Gu Xiaoxue, who was similarly showing a strange expression. Then, he shook his head and smiled, It seems like you have really wasted too many medicinal herbs. All right, then. Whenever you obtain medicinal herbs later, send all of them to the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island. You will then receive medicinal pills in exchange for them. Taking these medicinal herbs directly, even if you take them in a form of medicated diet, the efficacy that can be absorbed will only reach a certain extent, and the benefits it will bring for your cultivation won't be too significant. But refining them into medicinal pills or elixirs is a different case altogether, for it will be easier to absorb the efficacy after the refinement. Medicinal pills and elixirs? As a matter of fact, Chen Zhizhong had heard about medicinal pills. But how could he know that there were people in the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ who could concoct medicinal pills? Regret immediately filled his heart after hearing Tang Xiu's explanation. Nevertheless, filthy rich as he was, he soon calmed his mind and said, Speaking of which, I'm going to ask you something, Master. Is it all right for me to visit the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island whenever I have some free time? A smile outlined on the corner of Tang Xiu's mouth. There was a hint of teasing in his eyes, as he nodded and chuckled, You proposed this yourself? Then go there if you want. When you've collected enough herbs and seeds for me, make arrangement for your company first, and then come back here to do a special training for several months. I'm sure it will help you a lot. Looking overjoyed, Chen Zhizhong respectfully replied, All right. I will certainly have it done as soon as possible. Then, Tang Xiu shifted his vision to Gu Xiaoxue and asked, "Do you have some medicinal pills on you now?"
Yeah.
"I brought some with me." 2 jade bottles appeared in Gu Xiaoxue's hand as she said, "These are essence amassing pills. There are a total 20 of them in these 2 bottles. Taking 1 pill at a time will add 3 years' worth of cultivation. Give them to him. Additionally, exchange it for the medicinal pills quota set up for the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members, and give him the list of medicinal herbs that are needed to concoct it. Xizhong, if you want to get these medicinal pills later, you can go the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island and do the exchange yourself. However, the HQ has a limited number of medicinal pills, so do not use your wealth and wantonly exchange for them, got it?" With a happy face, Chen Zhizhong took the 2 jade bottles and excitedly said, "I would never do that, master. I will only exchange for some medicinal pills that I need." Tang Xiu laughed. "Later on, whenever there are core members of the Everlasting Feast looking for you to buy some medicinal herbs, give them some discounts. We're people from the same side, and many of them may need your help in this case." "I will bear that in mind, master," nodded Chen Zhizhong quickly. "Anyways, there are a lot of rooms here. Just pick a room you want to stay in. You and I will be going back to Star City tomorrow. As for you, Xiao Xue, if you're going back to Jingmen Island today, then go now. I give Tang Xiaojin's group to your care. Train them well." "Understood," Gu Xiaoxue replied, as she got up and left the study room. After the 2 left, Tang Xiu walked to the innermost corner of the study room. He kept moving his fingers while releasing his star force whenever he formed the runes of the array he had arranged there. Immediately afterward, the fierce beast he had subdued before jumped out from the inside and conveyed a telepathic message into his mind. It was hungry. Taking out a lump of meat from his interspatial ring, Tang Xiu gave the meat to it and said, "You seem to have grown in appetite and your belly capacity for food has kind of grown, too. Giving only meat for you will probably be troublesome later. Just wait until I return to Star City, I'll make some beast pills for you. That thing is easy to take and it will bring about great benefits to you. When you've become stronger, I can impart you a set of immortal beasts cultivation technique that will help you grow faster." Quickly, he received a telepathic message of gratitude from the fierce beast. Tang Xiu smiled, and ordered him back to the corner. He had created a very wide illusion realm for it with the array, making it stay in the corner so it wouldn't get bored. Afterward, Tang Xiu left the study room and came back to the living room. There, he looked at Tang Xiaojin, who had already started packing and was preparing to leave with Gu Xiaoxue. Tang Xiu could see that they were in low spirits and somewhat downcast, so he smiled and said, "Relax, kids. Someone will provide you with everything you need when you guys have arrived at Jingmen Island. We will also arrange the best teachers and instructors for you all, so that you can learn many things. I will also go to Jingmen Island to see you there whenever I have time." "We understand." The 5 children nodded. As Gu Xiaoxue took them away, Tang Xiu then came to Chen Zhizhong, who had already picked up his own room to stay and was currently sitting in the living room in boredom. He said, "Let's go. I'm going to teach you a set of body tempering techniques. As long as you work hard and diligently practice it, it will make your body and physical strength rapidly increase. Additionally, the true qi inside your boy has completely transformed into true primordial qi, so I must teach you a few simple spells as well." Upon hearing it, Chen Zhizhong rejoiced and immediately followed Tang Xiu to the courtyard. The teaching was carried out very smoothly. The seriousness shown by Tang Xiu in his teaching was met with diligence from Chen Zhizhong. When dusk came, Chen Zhizhong had thoroughly learned the body tempering technique, as well as mastered several magic spells. Nevertheless, it was still very hard for him to use them due to his limited strength. However, according to Tang Xiu, he could use these spells as long as he made a breakthrough. "Zhizhong, mark my words. You must never use these spells, nor can you easily expose about your cultivation whatsoever to others. Our existence will only make others feel threatened. Once you get exposed, I'm afraid that you can never pass your days peacefully again, said Tang Xiu gravely. Chen Zhizhong could understand what Tang Xiu was saying, and solemnly said, I understand, master. You can rest assured about that. Buzz. Just as he finished speaking, the automated electric gate of the villa slowly opened. While carrying her bag and hugging a few books, Mu Weining walked inside. She was slightly stunned after seeing Chen Zhizhong's naked back, who was sweating, as she immediately turned to look at Tang Xiu and asked, Who is he? He's my disciple, Chen Zhizhong. Zhizhong, this is Mu Weining, an alumnus from Shanghai University, said Tang Xiu. I know her, master, said Chen Zhizhong with a smile. She's honored and known as the first belle of Beijing, and the young lady of the House of Mu from Beijing. Astonished, Mu Weining said, You're Tang Xiu's disciple? What exactly did you learn from him? Wushu, said Chen Zhizhong. Curious as well as strange expression covered Mu Weining's face as she looked at Tang Xiu and praised, There really are too many things Tang Xiu can do. I really envy you for being able to learn something from him. But then, how did you know that I'm someone from the Mu family? I have seen your grandfather. A few years ago when he was not in good health, I personally sent several precious medicinal herbs to your Mu family in Beijing, said Chen Zhizhong with a smile. I remember you now. Your Uncle Chen, the boss of the Endless Virtue Pharmaceutical, right? Mu Weining was surprised. Chen Zhizhong quickly waved his hand, Please, don't call me that. Just call me Chen Zhizhong directly. You're a friend of my master, and being called uncle is something I dare not accept. A strange expression appeared on Mu Weining's face yet again. She looked at Tang Xiu and Chen Zhizhong, feeling amazed and astonished inwardly. It should be noted that Chen Zhizhong's Endless Virtue Pharmaceutical was a large Chinese herbal medicines company, and was second to none in the country. Its main business was trading medicinal herbs that encompassed the whole country. Yet, someone whose identity and wealth was so significant like him turned out to have formally acknowledged Tang Xiu as his master was simply unimaginable and inconceivable.